say anything you don't want somebody else to hear, because we will share it with the coaches that weren't able to make it. All right, I have everybody on mute. You should be able to unmute yourselves. If you want to talk, you can also raise your hand, and I can take you off mute if you can't unmute yourself. If you're only on your phone, you may need to text me, so I'm going to tell you my cell number in case you need it is 512-789. That's easy, 789 in order. And then 5131-5131. So if you need to contact me that way, you can. I am going to share my screen. Hopefully it's the right screen. You should be seeing a penguin. There we go. Ba-da-dum. Ba-da-dum. Da-da-dum. Well, this is this great button by the door. I don't even know what that is. Okay, here we go. Let me get this out of my way. Oh, I need to turn my camera off. I heard chat. What's going on in chat? Does not know how to update. So sorry to hear that. All right, so this is our November meeting. We just met last month, so I'm really happy that we didn't wait another 6 months to meet. And today's topic is going to be on curation. So we have 3 things we want to do. We want to share any updates. Where are you on the pathway, and what task has been the most interesting to you so far? Oh no, your volume is low too. I'm talking pretty loud, I think. I don't think I want to turn it up, Vicki. The other thing we want to do is talk about curation in terms of digital resources, and then share ideas about best practices and favorite tools for curating digital resources. Does anybody have anything they want to add, subtract, multiply, or divide from the objectives for today? I don't see any hands. I don't see any chat. So I'm going to say no. That should be enough to cover for an hour anyway. Sorry, I'm opening my chat pod so I can keep an eye on it. I hear my dog snoring behind me, so hopefully you're not hearing that, but okay. So last time the reminder was this is not a race. I've had comments from some people that I haven't really done much, I've been busy, and I was listening to a book on the way back from Houston by John Maxwell on leadership, and one of the things that he makes a point about is that you can't manage time. Time is not manageable because to manage means to control it, and we all get the same amount of time. We can't add anything to it. We can't subtract anything from it. So what we have to do is manage ourselves and determine, just like we do with our students, what our goal is. And what I had asked everybody to do is just to make a goal of finishing one level and within a certain time period, whether it's this program year or if it's, by spring break or whatever the case is, just to make a personal goal. I'm going to finish the level that I'm on by such and such date, and try to hold yourself to it. The bit.ly link down here, again, that's the notes for today. And so you are all welcome to help with the note-taking process. Ashley has agreed to be the lead for that. So if you have anything that you want to make sure gets added, either tell us. But I love that story where, you can't do anything about the past because it's behind us. You can't do anything about the future except what you do in the present, because the present is what matters. So don't worry about where you are in relation to other people. Look at where you are for yourself for right now and where you want to be, say, by spring break or by the end of the program year. Questions, comments on that? If not, we're going to get into the content. I'm just going to go down the list. Oh, good. Good, Vicki. You have volume now. Just to really quickly, who are you, what program you work for, and I do mean the name of the organization, not GED, ESL, HSE, whatever. What organization, like I work for Train PD and also work for Community Action. And then what level you're working on, and describe the task that has been the most interesting to you so far. So I want you to think about that for a second, because you may not have a ready answer, except for Joshua, who's just getting started. So I may ask you, go ahead and introduce yourself. So you can take yourself off mute, Joshua, and introduce yourself.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, I am the career navigator for adult ed at Angelina College, and just a brief background on me. I did a few years in the military. I did several years in ministry, and now I'm in adult education here in Deep East Texas, which is home for me. And I've been with Angelina College since early summer. And that's about it.
Yep, and you're just getting started, so you haven't actually dove into any of the tasks yet.
This is my first dive.
Yay, all right, great. Thank you so much. We're welcome. Very
Thank you.
excited to have you on board.
Glad to be here.
Anybody want to raise your hand or take yourself off mute and volunteer to go next? Victim or volunteer? Okay, Michael, go ahead.
Can you guys hear me all right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Well, I'm Mike Sines over here at the Far West Consortium with Socorro ISD. I'm still at the apprentice level, the rookie level. And I guess the most interesting so far was the coding. That was a little bit hard for me. It took a while for me to get over. To get through. So that's where I got stuck on, but I got to move on.
I don't want anybody to feel like they have to get over a task. That's pretty bad. Yeah, but the coding, I wanted everybody to have some basic concepts of how a computer works how it thinks, and that kind of helps you when you're problem solving. So I know it was tough, but I'm glad you got through it. Anybody else would like to share? Vicki said she enjoyed researching the infographics.
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Janine Wenzel. I'm with Community Action. I'm working on the Tech Apprentice Level 1 right now. And I don't think I've really gotten into the task. I'm still doing assessments as far as I can tell on all of the current skills that I have.
Right, so the first level, we're just looking at North Star. And those of you who are doing the North Star, I'm going to go ahead and put you on mute, Janine.
Okay.
It was whistling back at me. Don't just do the Apprentice Level 1. Not only was it just to make sure that we all knew where our gaps were, because there was not one of us that passed every test on the first try, but it was also to let you know that tool is available to work with teachers and also to work with students, because there's a free version that you can do with students. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knows that North Star was not just to, do the test, but also to be familiar with that product. Does anybody, and yes, Olga reminded me that if you're on the phone, you cannot unmute yourself. So if, I think Olga was the only one just calling in on the phone.
Okay.
Do you want to share something?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I was saying that I liked what you said earlier about not to worry about where everybody else is at, because I was feeling kind of bad because you have your superstars on the call today, and I was feeling sad because I'm not one of them. But I just, like you said, I have to focus on me and where I'm at and what I can do to start moving forward again.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that's really important because we all have different challenges in our organizations. We all have different time scales, so we want to make sure that we're just moving forward. And Ashley says you are a superstar, Olga.
Oh, thank you. That helps. Makes me feel better. But again, Olga Escamilla with Trim PDT call, and I think I just need to get on a listserv. But thank you.
Oh, and then Denise Johnson at Harris County said she's still at the first level and she needs to move forward, which is, we're all in there, we're all busy. So that's why I'm asking you guys just to make a goal for yourself about finishing the level you're on. Joy with Alamo in San Antonio is the part-time career navigator and adjunct at the community college, and works with Northeast School District and Alamo Community College, and she's an apprentice 2. Liz has completed apprentice 1. Joy's working on the digital tattoo project, which is one of my favorites. That's kind of an interesting one. Okay, very nice. I don't want to put anybody on the spot. And Vicki agrees with Olga that she's been away from working on it for a while on the assignments, and now she has some free time to work again. I really don't think there is any free time. I think you just have to block some time to say, I'm going to work on this today. Otherwise, it just goes out of control very fast. Tracy.
I'll go next.
Okay.
Brenda.
Tracy is on Apprentice 2 at Central Texas. Who said I will go next? Who said that?
Ashley Winkle.
Go ahead, Ashley.
Okay. I just said who I am. I'm with Literacy Council of Tyler in Tyler, Texas. I'm on the Journeyman 2, but I am a techaholic, so that's why, and it's fun for me, so I actually enjoy doing it. The task has been most interesting. That's a really hard one for me, but because I think I'm thinking of everything that's fresh on my mind more so, and ironically, it is the curation one because I was just working on that assignment last week. But aside from that, I really like the digital literacy, or how would I say that? Citizenship. I would say that. Digital citizenship stuff, just because I'm really interested in that right now. And also, I thought that fake book assignment was really fun.
I love fake book. I gotta tell
I know.
you.
I used it in my class. I had way too much fun with that one.
It is one of my favorites. Okay. I have too many favorites is a problem. And Denise is also agreeing about the statement about blocking out time. Speaking of time, we're 10 minutes in, so we actually still have some more time. Does anybody else want to share? Hey, who just called in?
This is Angela Pena. I keep getting disconnected. Sorry.
Oh, okay, that's okay. Just typing that up. I forgot to switch out to my non-clicky keyboard, everybody, so I'm sorry if you hear me typing. All right, so if nobody else wants to, okay, Tracy's letting me know. I got somebody's echoing. Tracy's saying that she doesn't see Tech Coach Apprentice 2 on her transcript, so I'm making a note. I'll check on that. I thought I assigned it to you, though, Tracy, even though we still have a couple of things that haven't been graded, but I will make sure. Apprentice 2. And if you run into problems like that, let me know, please. Anything that something's not working the way it's supposed to. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the concept of curating digital content. And this is from thefreedictionary.com, and the reason I'm showing that is it's one of my great tools that I use with my ESL, and I think you could also use it very easily with ABE. But to curate is to organize and oversee, and it comes from the ideas of libraries or museums, for example, an art exhibit or film festival, or to gather and to present to the public. So that's the definition. So when we're talking about that for digital tools, before I do that, I want to show you Free Dictionary. If you haven't looked at it, if you create an account with Free Dictionary, you can customize this home page. Your students can customize their home pages to have these widgets, whatever they want there. So I have the word of the day. There's a daily grammar lesson. There's an idiom of the day. And I always love these article of the day because I just have never heard of half of the information that comes up in these articles. And then this day in history, today's birthday, the quote of the day, hope is a good breakfast, but it is a bad supper. And then it has some activities, so like mismatch, where you do the antonyms. There's one over here with the synonyms. There's a spelling bee where you listen and you have to spell the word, and grammar quizzes, hangman. So my students like this, and it does have, multiple languages that you can look at too. So that's just one of my tools that I use with ESL is the Free Dictionary. Of course, I would use this with probably at least intermediate level. I wouldn't start my beginners out on this. So does anybody, when you're thinking about this idea of curating, to organize and oversee, anybody have any ideas about how that applies to us as teachers and people who are coaching teachers to integrate technology? Ashley says we need to help organize resources. So I was going to Google search, and I didn't have a chance to do this because I was coming back from Houston. How many ed tech tool websites do you think there are? Just websites. How many websites do you think you could use with your classes? Right. Yeah, pretty much unlimited because they're going up all the time. And then not only are they going up all the time, but they're coming down. And has anybody been in a presentation where you had a link and then you went to the link and it gave you a 404 error? No longer exists? That's the least liked number in the English language for me, 404. I hate that number. So I'm doing a workshop or a presentation or a create online course and I have a link in there and the link goes dead. So that's one of the reasons about curating. Yeah, Ashley, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say something about this because I literally just introduced this to my teachers today in our teachers meeting. So when you're talking about how to use the curation or integrate with teachers, what I did is, because I got onto the Wakelet, which is my new favorite toy in life right now. I absolutely love it. I just love everything about it. It's my favorite curation tool. But I've also researched a little bit about what to do and what not to do. Like I like to read the lady who does the Focus Pedagogy, because she has a lot of really good advice for things like this. So what I ended up doing is I created like 4 or 5 Wakelets, is what I'm going to call it. So they were separate tools, one for each subject. And they say, though, what is really, really important about this is you don't want to just dump a bunch of stuff in there. And if you don't know what a curation tool is, the thing that got me is it's like Pinterest is my best example. But with Pinterest, I always dump a bunch of stuff in there, and then I never look at it again. But what they were saying, though, about this is to put very, very quality things in there, and not too much. Don't overwhelm, because a lot of people just want to send you 8,000 links, and then you're not going to look at it. So I created 4 for social studies, science, language arts, and math. And then what was really cool is I got to embed it into Google Classroom, which is where we share all of our lesson plans and everything. So now all the teachers can go to one place and have their resources and their lessons.
So sorry. Can you?
Okay, I thought I got.
I have a mute
silent
button
like,
on my
oh.
mic and I forget. Can you put the name of that tool both in the chat and in the notes, please?
Yes.
And then some of these things from the notes are going to have to go to everybody. Joy said she uses Remind, Weebly, and then uses Google Docs and sends the students HyperDocs, and that's just in one class. Janine says, I think it's different depending on the people you're curating for. That's a very good point, because you really, as Ashley was saying, don't want to overwhelm people who don't have a lot of skills. I'm going to show you one of my favorite tools and the reason I use it too. The current level of computer skills and their comfort level using new resources. Yeah. And then what's your favorite? I've got a bunch of favorites, but I'll get back to that, Denise. Expired links are links that redirect the user. And by the way, if you're taking a PD Portal course and that happens, please let us know. We don't know unless somebody tells us, and then we try to fix it. One of the things I found out early on is that people move their PDF files. So now, if I'm using a PDF file, I download it, I have our webmaster put it on our server so we know where it is, and then we link it to there. And just, cite the original source. Who am I hearing? Oh, it's still Ashley. I'm still hearing Ashley.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's all right. I was just wondering who it was. And then Gen Z prefers to text than email. Oh, boy, is that true. That was so funny. One of my GAs, is he in here? Suresh was telling me that people don't text. And I'm like, you don't text because we're old. So I said, let's walk next door to our student workers instead of our graduate assistants who are older. And we asked our, 20-something, early 20 student workers, how do you primarily communicate with your friends? And they were like, text. You text everything. Yet a student tried to turn in a paper over Remind. So discussions in the building about how to use what resource. Good. There's that resource that Ashley was talking about, Wakelet. Michael would like to find an updated list of resources for AEL. And Vicki Sexton says, My Pocket is where I can tag items rather than having the nightmare of a long favorites on my menu bar, and can share to interested folks from there as well. Please put My Pocket in the notes too, Ashley. I think that's a great one. All right, wonderful. So I had an article here that you guys can look at. We'll look at it briefly now. And Ashley made a Wakelet for AEL that she's got there. I don't know if Mercury Reader will work on this site or not. I think I tried it, and it only gave me the heading. So here's an article on Emerging Ed Tech, which is a great website for us as coaches. And just in August, why is digital curation so important for educators in 2018? And I really liked this graphic that shows what curation is. It's not just collecting it. It is aggregating it, pulling the most relevant information about a particular topic into a single location. But also, distilling it down to which ones are the most important, and then organizing them in a way that shows either which one's more important or which two are complementary, or in chronological order to understand how a concept evolved. But this is really a great, it's from 2011, but it's really a great image of what curation should be about. So not just throwing everything on Pinterest, which can become overwhelming, especially when you go back to look for something, but actually curating it. I am not saying that I have arrived at this, because this is one of those things that you do have to set time apart for. And so I do try to do it occasionally, but I'm way behind, and I'll show you an example of me being behind here shortly. So here is a good definition of digital curation: the act of finding and selecting, grouping and contextualizing, preserving, maintaining, archiving, and sharing digital content. So when we were talking about not overwhelming students, it's okay to have a bunch of tools, but you may need to archive or not show them to students. I was at the Louvre in France in the summer, and what amazed me is with the number of pieces of art that are on display, there are nearly double or triple the number, I can't remember exactly, in storage, and they just rotate things through. So they curate the museum by bringing out different pieces at different times. And that's sometimes what we have to think of when we're talking about sharing with students or with teachers, especially teachers who may not be as technologically savvy as you. Questions or comments so far?
Glenda.
Yes.
Ooh, I hear your echo. So this is Olga. So is this kind of what I do in terms of with the community of practice, where I post things on there? And I was just thinking about this. You made me think about this, where I post the links to different articles and resources. But then I should be going back and looking at that to make sure that they're still good links, right?
So that's part of the curation, because you're... Sorry, I've got the echo. So I'm going to put you on mute just so I can answer, and then I'll take you back off. Because I don't see you. I think that was coming from me. Okay, so yeah, that would be the same kind of thing, except that simply identifying a source and sharing it, and going back and making sure it's still good. That's partly curation, but remember that part of it too is organizing it. And so if we're just sharing it and we're not putting them in topics or folders where those resources are all together, we're not really curating. Does that make sense, Olga?
Well, yes. Sorry, I had to get back on. I dropped off. But I do put them in different folders for sharing resources for different. So yes, it makes sense. Thank you.
Denise Johnson said, I like the ideas of rotating through options. It takes time for students and teachers to get familiar with the tool, so maybe dedicating a specific time for a source, like 2 weeks. I know with the website, this is not our TCAL website, those of us that look at the different topics, we try to go in at least once a month and make sure that the most recent events are up there, that we've taken down anything that's old, because things change very quickly. So I'm going to go into career pathways here in the community of practice and go into your topics folders. And so IET models, in-demand targeted occupation, moving beyond barriers, resource and lesson. This is where I think you would be coding. So it's almost like you would need subtopics under here, Olga, to curate if you're sharing different resources here, because this is just a long list. So you could curate them under different topics within the Career Pathways topic if you wanted to curate it.
Is that possible?
Yeah,
I
right
guess I
there.
would need to look into how to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Create a subtopic, and then all of those would go under there.
Okay.
So that's one way to do it. So finding them and sharing them is one thing. Organizing and curating them is another. So that's what I was the point that I was trying to make there.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Sure. It's important in today's digital age, I'm reading right here, that educators are digital curators who can find and share relevant information. That's one part of it. But also the challenge they face is figuring out how to efficiently organize all their different sources of content into a coherent way that is easy to view. I am also going to go a step further and say that I think it's important for students to learn how to do this. So, and I'm not the only one, because I found somebody else who agreed with me that said the short video, it doesn't really have any audio, so I'm just going to play it really quickly. Well, it does have audio. I lied. So hold on. I may need to start it over here. Pause. And turn my microphone around. This is going to be awkward, but we'll see. Here we go, guys. Let's see if I can get some sound. Let me know if you can hear it in the chat, please, once I start. Here. Well, sugar crackers.
We live in a world of instant information. With the tap of a button, we can read articles, watch videos, listen to podcasts, and engage in rapid-fire conversations about just about anything. And the traditional gatekeepers are gone, which is great for students. They can create and share their work in ways that were previously unimaginable. But there's a cost. If we're not careful, we can mistake the speed of consumption for the depth of knowledge. And that's why we need students to learn the art of curation. Curators ask thoughtful questions and find resources that are accurate and interesting. They geek out on the content, finding the takeaways and making sense out of new ideas. As this happens, curators organize their content into categories or themes. They make connections between seemingly opposite artists and ideas and disciplines in ways that make you think, man, I had never considered that before. And they're also able to determine trends from multiple sources. Eventually, they add their own unique lens and share their work with an authentic audience. And that's ultimately what we want students to learn how to do. We live in a world of instant information.
Okay, we don't need to watch it again. So I thought that was a pretty good, really short video to explain why students also need to know how to curate. What did you guys think? Because there's way too much information on the web, and students, you know, it's one of those tools that people can use to critically evaluate whether the source is good or not, and be able to synthesize the information. That higher level thinking that increases our rigor when we're expecting more from them. Having a problem here. There we go. Before I forget, not A&M. Let me go ahead and give you guys the link for the PowerPoint, or the, not PowerPoint, but presentation. There you go. Okay, so let me show you some of my curation tools. Curation tools can really be anything. It can be a document. It can be a spreadsheet. It can be a database. It can be social media like Pinterest, which we've already mentioned. It can be a website or an app. So I'm going to show you some ways that I curate and am not current. I'm not putting myself up as a model, but just some things that I've done. So one of the earliest things I've done, and I thought about Ashley when I did this is essentially a very early form of a hyperdoc. So I have my interactive online activities for ESOL and ABE, GED. I guess I should change that to HSE now. And basically, this document is an annotated list. And I would go in, and I need to go in and make sure things are still working and that they're still free. So I had the ones that are approved for distance learning with Spanish support, no Spanish support, citizenship, and then my ABE, HSE activities, and broke those down into lesson plans, multiple skills, reading and vocabulary, writing, math, geography, history and government, and I actually let other people come in here and put their favorites in too. Then also just some other activities like typing practice and basic computer skills that people sometimes, and I started adding workforce-specific websites that I found like CNA English and the Right to Work, Core Skills Mastery, Texas Cares Online, Texas Reality Check, those kinds of things. And then also things about apps. I started with apps and have not gotten very far. I just started making a list because I just got overwhelmed in the app world once the app started really coming up. So this is just a document with links. And, you know, I made it available to anybody who has the link, and you guys are definitely welcome to add or help me curate this list, and we can use it in our workshops or share it with our teachers. That would be great. I would love that. So this is one way, just using a doc. Another way, yes, did somebody want to make a comment? Just raise your hand, speak up. Or is it just because my gain's too high because I turned my computer up? Hold on, let me turn my gain back down on my microphone. I think I may have just been hearing myself. Okay, so this is from TCEA, and TCEA has apps list for Android, Chrome, and iOS. So if you're not a member of TCEA, you know, that's $45 well spent, and if your program is willing to do that, that is an allowable expense according to TWC, Lori Slayton. So you can go in here and you can find a list of apps that they have for different kinds of things. So productivity, for secondary, you know, school, for elementary school and primary students, you can go into the iOS list if you have Apple iPads, and it'll give you lists of things that you can do there. And then if you have Chromebooks, you can go into Chrome. It'll give you the Chrome app list, different things you can do there. So that's another way. These are just basically spreadsheets, tables that they have put together. The ones that I've used with my class mostly has been Symbaloo. And like the one that Ashley was sharing, one of the reasons that I would do that is because I could embed this in my learning management system, and I could take away or add different websites. I did not have to worry about them clicking or writing on the URL down correctly. They could just, you know, go to the link and go directly there. And it's very easy to add one, and you can steal them from other people too. So this is when I had a class, I would have a tech center home, and so if I wanted them to do science, they could go here, and it would have all these science things. I wouldn't have this many on for students. I think it's too many. I would, you know, just choose the ones that I wanted to use. So my science might look like that. And you can just add them. It's very easy to add. Create a tile. Just give it the URL. If I wanted to do the links resources, I could just do the learning portal here for links. I go over to Symbaloo, put that link in there. It's a website, and I can put adult education online courses. I would add links to the top. I like to show the text, depending on how it looks. I can't add for some reason. Maybe it's too many letters. You can pick a color, you can use an image, whatever you want to do. You save it, and there it is. And now everybody could go to that and click on it. So that Symbaloo is another way to curate and pull things off and on fairly easily. The only thing is you can't store a tile. So once you delete a tile, you'd have to recreate it to put it back on. So it's not too hard to do, but you know, there's my Breaking News English, News ELA, Khan Academy, Schoology, Quizlet, the ones that I use. My list of resources is right there. And I can share this fairly easily too. I can embed it. I share it to the gallery, what the name is. I can share it on Twitter. I can share it in Google Classroom. I can embed the code. There you go. I can use a widget. So, I mean, there's different things you can do. But I like Symbaloo a lot for sharing with students. Questions, comments? Let me go ahead and share the link. And if you guys have things you want to add to that document list, we can definitely do that. So another one that you can use is Scoop It. This is another one. And it's, again, there's a lot of places where you go now that will have the Scoop It link on there, just like it would Pinterest. But you can also upload your own personal documents, but you can also look for other people. Scoop a topic. If I want to do digital curation, I could actually just search it, and it'll probably pop up in a second. My computer's been a little angry at me. So, if somebody else has already scooped it, then I can scoop it too. And I can do a direct link for it. I can share your insight, love the graphic or whatever. And I can even tweet it out and publish it. So I'm not going to do I'm not going to buy it though. So there's Scoop It. Paperly is the one that automatically looks at your Twitter feed and pulls things in. That's another one that I'll do. We already talked about sharing resources inside of a learning management system. So the PD portal is ours, but I mean, you could do this in Blackboard, or I know we can do it in Blackboard and Canvas. I'm sure Schoology, yes, you could definitely set up folders with different items. And you can also embed those other resources. Okay, so those are some of the ones that I use. What are some of the ones that you guys use, that you keep and organize your multiple resources? Or maybe you don't. Maybe you keep index cards in a box. Oh, good. You use Edpuzzle to organize your videos. Okay. And you can also make those interactive, which is great. I love Edpuzzle. Canvas, Google Docs, and Weebly. Schoology, Symbaloo, Wakelet, Pinterest, Edpuzzle, HyperDocs, Google Sites. Okay, those are all great ways to organize. But the key is just having the tool still doesn't help you to organize it. So you really do have to find time to go back and look at the tools that you have, make logical sense of them, and group them together so you can find them. What I would love is somebody take on a project like create a database for us where it says, I need a tool to teach this in math, and it comes up with a bunch of apps and websites for you. Not that I have time to do that, but in my dream world, that would be the bomb database for me. Yes, I'm old. I said the bomb. CrowdEd is trying to do that, yeah. Here's what I need. Here's the tool that I might be able to use. Because, people always do things backwards. When you're working with teachers, they'll try to start with the tool and then figure out how to work it into their lesson. And really it is, look at the lesson and then try to see what tool could help you accomplish it maybe more effectively or with some higher level thinking or that kind of thing. Blackboard for instructors. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you can have an archive of all of your videos and worksheets and orientation slides, yeah. And you want to, when you use them with your teachers, you want to make sure that you point out that you are modeling something that they can do with students. Because I have been guilty, speaking of being guilty of things, Ashley, of modeling things in workshops and not explicitly saying, I am modeling what I want you to do with your students. And sometimes people don't make that connection unless you say it explicitly. So that's on me. Saying this is a very easy Google Doc that you can share. This is how you make a QR code that you can share with them on their phones. Actually, one of the ones that I have for my other job, I can go into my drive, this useful websites doc right here, very basic, that we give to new students. We give them the link, but we also, since this is on printed paper, they can't click on it and go there. And I have taught all of my students to use QR code readers. So a lot of times I'll just generate a QR code and have them do it that way. So there's the Community Action, there's the Texas Workforce Commission, there's our private Facebook group, and there's some sites to practice, Duolingo, Quizlet, and Breaking News English for them to practice. So even something like that, an orientation, just to give them some overview information if they want to go deeper than the time that we have allowed for orientation. That's a way of curating content and organizing it for them. Okay, well, we're almost. Can I share that? I can share that. Hold on. That's a Word doc, but I'm happy to share that with you. Get shareable link. Link sharing is on. Anyone with the link can view. Make sure this link works, guys. What do I use to generate QR codes? So on my apps for Chrome, I have the QR code generator on my apps for Chrome. The only thing I don't like is you still have to sign in, even though you're already signed into Chrome. because then it'll save your old codes. But you basically can make a code for free text, so I've used it for games, for a URL, which is what I usually use it for. You can also do contact information, and, you know, just giving them my phone number, but I can do that with free text as well. But this will actually go into their phone, into their contacts. It's very easy to do. And then you just save the QR code or you copy and paste it. Any other questions? So I got this, if you want to know where I got this from, you can see I have a lot of apps on my Chrome. I get them from the web store. So I get them from the chrome.google.com web store, and then I just find the apps that I want to use. I can't see if you're typing, so I'm just waiting to make sure anybody else. You can take yourself off of mute if you want. Are you finding this information useful? Okay. Well, at least one person.
Sorry, Glenda.
Uh-huh.
Can I just make this isn't exactly about curation tools, but it kind of is. I just kind of wanted to make a side note because there's something that occurred to me within the last month based on the lesson that I did, which was, you know, the one where we were making Google Sites. When we did a brainstorming activity, just to kind of give them an idea of what their skills are and how they can take everyday lives and turn it into skills used for jobs, blah, blah, blah. When they were listing their own skills, not one single student said technology at all. And we use technology every day in my class, and we have for years. And some of my students I've had since they were lower levels. That was kind of an eye-opener for me because I was like pulling teeth to get them to say it. And instead they were saying, when I'm like, what do we do every day? You know, their answer was Google Classroom. And so that kind of occurred to me that when we're teaching them to use technology, that maybe it's important for us to also tell them or help them identify what skills they are acquiring as we're teaching it. And I just
Great
that was a big
Thank
eye-opener for me.
Yeah, so that and making sure that we're not just teaching, and we've talked about this before, make sure that you're not just teaching how to use a particular site or a particular app without talking about the underlying concepts that will apply across how to learn how to use an app or a program, so that, you know, they have a transferable skill in digital technology.
Yes, like I know that I've had students leave and tell me years later, they come back and say, oh my God, I use Google Drive for everything now. I use it for my business and things like that. So Google Drive, many of them recognize, but any other thing, they just don't think they have any skills at all. So that was it was a really big eye-opener for me.
Thanks for sharing that. So were there any other favorite ways of sharing and vetting and organizing digital resources that you guys have that we haven't talked about? Oh, Trello. I forgot about Trello. Okay, so as a task tool to make certain that all task assignments are completed and keep up with who has finished and who is still working on their group task. Padlet, you can definitely use Padlet as an organizing tool, definitely. I think somebody remind me to save the chat so we can like just embed it in our notes. Padlet, definitely. And that one's another one that's easy to link to the site and provide additional information. You could create different Padlets. Speaking of which, I'm going to go to my Pinterest real quick because we were talking about making sure you're not just throwing things in Pinterest. So I'm going to go to my Pinterest account, and if you notice, my Pinterest is set up, and I put these numbers so that I can see what I want to see first. So here are items for my classroom. Here's stuff on project-based learning. Here's my whole folder of graphic organizers. There's one on social media and curation, technology workshops, apps for the classroom, professional development, flipped classrooms. And so rather than just pinning it to the same board, I try to keep it separated. There's my dog. Hello, dog. But the ones at the top, the reason they have the numbers is because they're in numerical order, and so that way at least I can see my work stuff first. So if you are going to use Padlet as a curation tool, that's great. Students can also, you can create group boards. So you want to make sure that you kind of put them all together. Group and organize and share. Group, organize, share. Find, I should say find, vet, group, organize, share. So it's not just about finding and sharing. It's that whole series of activities. And then going back occasionally and making sure they're still valid, which I haven't done lately, so I need to do that. All right, we're out of time, guys. It is 3:30, so are there any closing thoughts or comments? Got to run. Bye, Vicki. Thank you for coming. Stay Stay safe in the storm. Yes. Somebody doesn't change. They change the price, right? Some of them were free and they go up in price. Some of them disappear completely. So we want to make sure that, that's still the free resource that we thought it was. All right. Well, that is it for today's meeting. I hope it's helpful, especially when you get to that activity where you do have to share curation tools with your teachers. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. And I would like to see from everybody a list of a goal of finishing whatever level you're on by such and such date. That would be great. Bye, guys. If I don't talk to you again, have a great holiday. See you in the new year.
Bye, Glenda. Thank you.
Bye. So Frankie, Janine, John, Michael, and Tracy, I'm getting ready to close the room. Did you want to say anything before we go?
I'm learning every day, so I thank you for this webinar.
Thanks for coming, Frankie. It's good to see you.
Have a happy holiday.
You too.
Trying to leave, but I can't get out.
You can't? Okay. Well, I'm going to close it, so you'll get out then. Bye.